They said he wasn't ready. They said he was too quiet, too inexperienced, too different to lead a franchise like the Philadelphia Eagles. But sometimes leadership isn't about volume. It's about presence. And when Jalen Hurts walked into that locker room, people felt something shift. He wasn't there to talk. He was there to build. The story of Jalen Hurts isn't just about football. It's about a young man who turned every doubt, every setback, every quiet night of being overlooked into fuel. Born into a football family in Houston, Texas, Jalen learned early that talent means nothing without discipline. His father, Averian Hurts, coached him hard, sometimes too hard, but always with one message: be ready when your time comes. That message became his compass. At Alabama, Jalen's story could have ended. He was a star, young, confident, leading his team to victory after victory, until one game changed everything: the national championship. The world watched as Coach Nick Saban made a decision few could believe. He benched Jalen Hurts at halftime for Tua Tagovailoa. Most players would have walked away, angry, broken, or bitter, but Jalen didn't. He stood on the sidelines, helmet on, cheering for the very person who replaced him. Because to him, the game wasn't about ego. It was about the team. That moment didn't define his failure. It defined his character. He transferred to Oklahoma and rebuilt his story from scratch. New playbook, new teammates, new critics. And yet he thrived, breaking records, rewriting expectations, and earning respect not through hype, but through consistency. When the 2020 NFL draft came around, people still doubted him. When the Eagles picked him in the second round, analysts called it confusing. Why Hurts? They said. He's not a franchise guy. Fast forward, and suddenly, the same people are using words like MVP and leader, but that didn't happen overnight. When Jalen arrived in Philadelphia, he didn't promise greatness. He promised growth. Every practice, he worked in silence. Every game, he studied longer, pushed harder, spoke less, and listened more. And slowly, the team began to reflect his energy: calm, focused, unshakable. Then came the 2022 season, a year that would change everything. The Eagles were flying high, undefeated through most of the schedule. Critics turned into believers. Fans started to feel it, that something special was building in Philadelphia again. Not just another run, but a movement led by a man who didn't need to yell to be heard. When the Eagles reached the Super Bowl, it wasn't by accident. It was by design, forged in sweat, humility, and preparation. On that night, under the blinding lights, Jalen Hurts played like a man who carried more than just his team. He carried a city. 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing, and a performance that outshone even the biggest stars on the field. They didn't win that night, but something bigger happened. Jalen Hurts didn't lose. He arrived, because sometimes leadership isn't about holding the trophy. It's about earning the respect of millions who see themselves in your story. Philadelphia saw that. They saw the humility, the drive, the unshakable calm. They saw a man who embodied everything their city stands for: grit, resilience, and the refusal to quit. After that night, everything changed. Endorsements rolled in. Sure, recognition too. But what stayed consistent was his mindset. When asked about personal awards, Jalen said, "Rent is due every day." That line became more than a quote. It became a culture. Fans began printing it on shirts, painting it on murals. Because it wasn't just about football anymore, it was about life. Jalen Hurts reminds us of something powerful: that greatness isn't loud, and confidence doesn't have to shout. That you can be doubted, dismissed, and even benched, and still rise. That you don't need the world to believe in you, as long as you don't stop believing in yourself. And that's what makes this story timeless. Because somewhere in every locker room, every boardroom, every classroom, there's someone being told they're not enough. And maybe, just maybe, hearing about Jalen Hurts reminds them that they can rewrite their story too. As the Eagles continue to fight, every touchdown feels like a reminder, not just a skill, but a spirit. The kind of spirit that turns setbacks into setups, the kind that makes a city proud, the kind that says, no matter what they call you, if you keep working, keep believing, and keep showing up, you can't lose. Because in Philadelphia, And in life, that's what real champions do. They rise quietly, they fight relentlessly, and when the world finally looks their way, they just smile because they were ready all along.